She hadn't cried in over a year. I was in my third year as a pediatrician when a mom walked into my office carrying her 8-year-old daughter, Marcy. At first glance, she looked like any other kid. Healthy weight, clean, hair neatly brushed. But there was something off. Her face was blank, like she was looking through the room instead of at it. The mom sat down and said, "Doctor, my daughter hasn't cried in over a year." I thought she was exaggerating until she went on. "Not when she fell off her bike and scraped her knee, not when she got stung by a wasp, not even when our dog got hit by a car and died right in front of her." Apparently, Marcy would just stare, silent, as if she wasn't even in the same world as the rest of us. The mom had told their family doctor about it once, but he brushed it off. Some kids are tougher than others, but this didn't feel like tough. This felt like a void. I started asking Marcy some basic questions. She barely spoke. When she did, it was in one-word answers without looking up from the floor. She kept holding her stomach, so I thought maybe there was some chronic digestive issue. I ordered standard blood work and a neurological exam. Both came back perfectly normal. Still, my gut told me something was wrong. I suggested a full-body MRI, just to be thorough. The mom agreed right away. She was desperate for answers. 2 days later, the MRI technician called me personally. "That never happens unless something's bad. Doc, you need to see these images," he said. What I saw made my stomach twist. Marcy had multiple healed internal bruises, deep tissue damage along her ribs, hips, and one massive one across her lower back. None were fresh, but they'd been severe. I called the mom back in and gently asked, "Has Marcy ever been in any accidents, car crashes, falls downstairs?" She looked genuinely confused and said no. Then she started crying, terrified I was about to tell her it was cancer or some rare disease. I forced my calmest voice and said, "Don't worry, I've seen strange bruising patterns in kids before. It happens more often than you think." That was a lie. In 3 years, I'd never seen anything like it. I convinced them to let Marcy stay overnight for observation and called in our child psychologist. 2 hours later, the psychologist came out looking pale. Marcy had told her everything. She had trained herself not to cry because every time she did, her dad would say, "I'll give you something to really cry about." And then he would. He'd punch her in places clothing would hide, squeeze her ribs until she couldn't breathe, slam her against walls when her mom wasn't home. He'd threaten to hurt her mom if she ever told anyone. The psychologist explained Marcy had developed something called learned helplessness. Her brain had shut down her ability to show pain or fear as a survival mechanism. I called Child Protective Services immediately. While we waited for them, I had to sit at my desk pretending everything was routine while my hands shook under the table. 3 days later, her dad was arrested. Turns out her previous pediatrician, the one who ignored the warning signs, was his golf buddy. The abuse had gone on for nearly 2 years. The mom had no idea. She was working double shifts as a nurse and wasn't home when it happened. The worst moment was also the most heartbreaking. As Marcy was being placed with her grandmother, she gave me this tiny, careful hug and whispered, "Thank you for believing me when I couldn't say it." When she left, I went into the supply closet and cried harder than I had in my entire life. I told her everything was normal, but there was nothing normal about what she'd survived.